The Honourable Heke Parata.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Huri noi tō tātou whare, tēnei ahi tēnā tātou katoa. Mr. Speaker, I'm part of a government led by John Key, who from 2008 has ensured that we are focused on what really matters for New Zealanders. And in that context, on those most vulnerable, those families that most need the help of a caring and compassionate government. So we've seen very deft and prudent management by our Minister of Finance to ensure, and as is reflected in the statistics, the kind of growth we're getting in our economy, growth that's essential to be able to invest in the way that we have across our country. We've also had leadership about a social investment approach that basically argues invest early with impact to make a difference for those who otherwise would not be leading the best possible opportunities in their lives. We have Minister Bennett, who has been leading in one of the most difficult areas around social housing, challenging some of the, not a disaster at all, although I understand that the opposition is afraid to embrace the changes that we are making and the comprehensive plan that we have in housing. We've heard from Dr. Coleman this afternoon, who is leading effective investments in health, and we are seeing the results of that for young and old New Zealanders, those with challenges who we are concerned to ensure enjoy good health. Just recently, the extremely competent Minister Adams launched our investment into family violence, understanding that this is very difficult for New Zealand. It's been a long-established one, and that we must not shy away from it. So she's taken the approach there. Minister Tolley, in social development generally, but specifically in terms of the most vulnerable, the establishment of the Ministry of Vulnerable Children, Oranga Tamariki, the inescapable challenge that we have to make sure that those kids who end up in the care of the state through no fault of their own get the best care of the state. And she has been prepared to confront some very long established problems there and is supported by our government to make a difference. On into the Honourable Collins and the work that we have to do in corrections and police, and make sure that as crime rates come down, we continue to assure New Zealanders of a safe community that they can live their lives in. And so it goes on. But let me turn to education. Let me turn to education, the portfolio that is the most exciting in government, because it has the most durable solution to those who live in hardship. Because a great education makes the difference for many, many people. And the member asks, because he knows how much progress we've had in Māori education. It is significant. It is significant Māori education. What we've seen is more Māori participating in early childhood education, more Māori getting the interventions they need at primary school around reading together and reading recovery, more attainment for school leavers who are staying longer, more NCEA results for young Māori. In fact, about 62% increase. Now, Māori, Pacifica, all New Zealanders are doing better under our government, and that is the most sustainable answer to poverty or hardship. I know that the opposition wants to whinge on, and we can hear them whinging on, but this government, with our coalition partners, the Māori Party, with ACT New Zealand, with United Future, know that sustainable answers come from a strong economy, come from great education, from investing in communities, from trusting New Zealanders that they know what's best for them, and creating an environment in which they can take a lead in their own lives. In education, Mr. Speaker, for the first time this year, we have targeted funding to those that we know from research and evidence have the most difficulty in being educationally successful. Now that amounts to $12.3 million in 2017. That is in addition to $1.35 billion of operational funding to schools. There has been no funding freeze. Now the member wants to go on about a particular trust. I suggest he do some actual work and fix stuff in his own area. What we're doing is focusing on New Zealanders as a whole. Mr. Speaker, in learning support for those kids most vulnerable in terms of clinical, behavioural, physical or psychological needs, we have invested an additional $42 million in budget 2016, and that reflects a 29% increase overall for learning support. Overall, for vote education, which we're now over $11 billion for the first time ever, that represents a 30% increase since we came into government. And within that, of course, the critical area of early childhood education, when we came in, it was $780 million. It's now $1.79 billion. Mr. Speaker, we are putting the hard-earned tax from New Zealand taxpayers into what counts, growing the quality of participation and the quality of achievement.